It's Thursday crossover edition, sponsored by Prize Picks. Both of our teams are across the pond. Locked On Jaguars.
Locked On Patriots.
Let's get it.
You are Locked On NFL Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listen on both Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Patriots. This is the Thursday crossover, sponsored by Prize Picks here on the Crossover Show. And I know you guys have gotten used to these. You know what it is, man. That's right. Crossover Thursday is presented by Prize Picks. Download the app and use the code Locked On NFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5. We'd like to thank y'all for joining us. You can find both of our shows on our YouTube page, Locked On Patriots, as well as Locked On Jaguars. And then make sure you check us out wherever you listen and hear our podcast. Tony Wiggins, I am, and that is Mike Debate, my main man from New England. Mike, we got a good one. We got a good one coming, man. I think it's going to be good because they're both equally kind of bad right now.
Well, you know what? Anytime these two teams lock horns, Tony, it's always a happening, whether it be in the playoffs, whether it be back in the day, all the way back to the 90s. The Pats and the Jaguars always seem to give a great effort and a great output. And you know what? This one happening in Wembley Stadium in England. Gotta love it. I know a lot of people have had this one circled on their calendars, especially Jaguars backup quarterback Mac Jones. You know he'd like to escape there with a win and really kind of stick it to his former team. Look, Mac has always been someone that was always very good to me. I had a good opportunity to be able to get to know him personally as well as professionally. So always glad to see him doing well. But this is going to be a fun one. We're all looking forward to it in New England.
We are too. And Mac is a good guy. He's actually a Jacksonville native too. And we love Mac. But we don't want to see Mac Sunday. We don't want to see Mac because if we see Mac, that means something has happened to Trevor. And we don't want that, right? We want to, if we see Mac, we want it to be because the Jaguars are putting in their backups because they have a big lead in the game. Speaking of the game this week, lot going on in New England. One of the things that I wanted to talk about was obviously Drake Maye. He made his debut last week. Can you tell us about Drake Maye and how, especially do it through the lens of someone that followed Tom Brady like forever through his career and have won all of those championships? The pressure of trying to be that next guy. We spoke about Mac Jones. He wasn't able to do that. Tell me what this whole thing has been like with Drake Maye and what have y'all seen so far?
Yeah, I think for the first time in a long time, Patriots fans are excited about what they see at the quarterback position. And look, that's no disrespect to Mac. I just think that Drake, for what he's doing in an Alex Van Pelt offense, is a very good fit. And look, there's the ice water running through the veins type that Drake is really kind of putting out there right now. Look, it wasn't a perfect debut last week against the Houston Texans. 20 of 33, 243 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. 2 interceptions on which he looked like a rookie. And there are going to be moments where Drake does indeed look like a rookie. And I anticipate those in this game. But when you look at what Alex Van Pelt did with him, Tony, last week, I think he was very smart in the game plan that he called. Put him under center only on 12 plays. 19% of the Patriots snaps were under center. He kept him in shotgun, which is where he is most comfortable and where he did his most damage as a member of the North Carolina Tar Heels. 7 play action dropbacks. I look for that to increase maybe a little bit this week. 8 RPOs, put a lot of spread concepts, allowing Drake to get a clear picture of the defensive structure. I think that's going to be very similar to what you see this week against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So can Drake go off script and maybe mitigate some of the problems that the Patriots have had on the offensive line? He seemed to do that last week against the Texans. It's going to be interesting to see if the Jacksonville Jaguars come out with a similar blueprint that teams have been trying to use to beat the Patriots, which is stack the box, blitz a little bit, try to get the quarterback to hold the ball, and then you can make things happen on the defensive side of the ball against the Pats quarterbacks. Drake has been proven to be a better steward in guarding against that because he's able to go off script. In this case, it's going to be interesting to see how the Jacksonville Jaguars defend him. But right now, I think Drake Maye is showing the ability to not just be a solid contributor in this offense, but a guy that can make things happen when all else around him seems to be breaking down.
I'm interested about your offensive line. We know about offensive line struggles here, and we know about him with a young quarterback and the damage that it can do to his development. What's been the main problem with the offensive line? Is it just a pure lack of talent? Is it a lack of strength and athleticism and ability to move people, or is it a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both. And look, there has to be mention of injuries as well. David Andrews, right now at the center position, is the key cog in that offensive line.
Good player.
Him being
Yeah.
gone, absolutely a great player and a great guy as well. And he's someone that is always counted upon to be the rock on which that foundation is built. That offensive line centers around David Andrews. No pun intended. That's exactly what he does. He is that good and that important. He's out for the year. Pats had to bring in Ben Brown. Nick Leverett, I think, gave a best effort, wasn't able to be up to the challenge to be able to do that. Ben Brown did a great job last week, hardly allowed a pressure, was able to call the progressions, was able to call the protections, and I think he did a good job. He'll be in there this week at the center position. Badarian Lowe, who's played very well at the left tackle position, has been hampered by an ankle injury, and if he's not able to go because he did not practice on Wednesday, that's going to be something to watch on Thursday and on Friday as our listeners continue to absorb our content here on the Locked On Patriots and Jaguars crossover. That's a name to remember because if he can't go, Zachary Thomas right now is the guy that came in and had to be the backup left tackle. The Patriots are going with that type of lineup. That left side is going to be very precarious for the New England Patriots. So a lot of pressure is going to be on guys like City. So a lot of pressure is going to be on Ben Brown to make sure that the Patriots have somewhat competent protection on the left side. If not, it could be a long day for Drake Maye in London.
No doubt about it. Flip it over to the defense. There should be a lot of continuity from what we've seen for a long time because Drake Maye was on the staff with Bill Belichick. Not only that, he played for Bill Belichick. How similar is the defense to what we have seen over the years from a Belichick coach team?
I think the Patriots right now have tried to use the same blueprint, and for the most part, they've had success in doing so. But in the last couple of weeks, Tony, the Patriots defense has started to show cracks in the foundation. They've started to show vulnerability, especially along the front seven. The defensive line has been very good because of the play of Devon Godchaux, but based on that only, Patriots right now are struggling to have that guy come up front and be able to help where the Patriots have needed it the most. They're really missing right now, I think, two guys that really make this defensive line go and their front seven go. Along the line, they're missing Christian Barmore. Christian was a guy that was absolutely always in there to take on the double team and be able to provide protection and provide the opportunity for pass rushers to be able to get home. The trade of Matthew Judon definitely weakened their pass rush, but Keon White, the second-year player out of Georgia Tech, has been very good at being able to get after the quarterback and provide pressure. The problem is teams are zeroing in on him because they have extra personnel to dedicate to him, so that way he can't get home to the quarterback. Christian always took on the double team. He allowed maybe another guy to have to contend for him, and because of that, it's very difficult for Keon to be able to get home and get the sacks. He's getting pressure, but not enough sacks. Patriots right now are dealing with a defense that is at a loss for some great players, including a guy like Jawan Bentley, who really is I think, the key cog in that run defense. Patriots have seen a lot of teams rip off serious runs against them. Houston Texans did it last week, 59-yard run for Joe Mixon, a 54-yard run for Dameon Pierce. Those are the areas right now where the Patriots are vulnerable and teams are taking advantage of it. I think it's going to be interesting to see if the Jaguars are able to do that. That could make things difficult for the Pats on Sunday.
It sounds like Jacksonville fans should be a little bit happy because a lot of the things that you spoke of are things that the Jaguars have actually done pretty well. We're going to flip this around now, and I'm going to get in a witness stand. I'm going to let my man Mike debate, sit there, and I'm not going to debate him, no pun intended. But I'm going to let him sit there and talk to me about what's going on with the 1-5 Jags. It ain't all bad, or is it? We'll discuss that and more here on a crossover edition of Locked On Patriots and Locked On Jaguars. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Arena Club. That is right, folks. Arena Club is where it is. It's where it's at, too. For most of us, we like collecting cards. The idea of spending $2,000 or more on, let's just say, Luka, Ellie, or Mahomes rookie card just isn't in the cards. no pun intended. I love collecting, but that's some serious money to drop. Thanks to slab packs from arenaclub.com, now it's possible to score gem mints for a fraction of the retail price. Every card that I listed was a hit from last week's Arena Club slab pack drop. Arena Club is the only repack that provides real value, a complete view of all possible cards, and clear hit rates for each one. The slab packs are revolutionizing the repack game with transparency. After your pulls are revealed, they'll immediately be placed in your showroom for safekeeping, selling, trading, or auction. Right now, you can get 10% off your first slab pack of card purchases by going to arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl and use the code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDON NFL. That's right, arenaclub.com/lockedonnfl, code LOCKEDONNFL for $10 off your first purchase. And today's show is sponsored by our friends over at Game Time. Don't ever let anybody tell you that if you buy tickets late, that all of a sudden your procrastination doesn't equal an emergency on their part. Game Time would never say that to you. In fact, your procrastination, they specialize in those last minute tickets, and they will take care of you using the curation process that gets all the fluff out of the way and allows you to get right to the seat views and the all-in pricing and the lowest price guarantee for the tickets you want to whatever event you're going to, whether it's an athletic event, comedy show, monster trucks, we don't care. Game Time has those seats. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, and here's the redeem code, LOCKEDONNFL, and I'll spell it LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Man, it's game time. We are in the middle of a crossover edition between Locked On Patriots and Locked On Jaguars. Mike Debate, I am all yours to tell me what you want to talk about my 1-5 football team.
Well, from one 1-5 football team to another, Tony, yeah, this is going to be interesting. And this is really where we get to cross the streams, because as the home team in this, even though I know it's going to be in Wembley Stadium in London, the Jags are the home team. So right now it gives me the opportunity to kind of put you on the hot seat. And I'm kind of liking that right now. Yeah, look, man. Bottom line, Trevor Lawrence has endured an interesting start to his career. Number one pick overall a few years ago, struggled as a rookie. Urban Meyer gets let go. Doug Peterson comes in, and all of a sudden it's looking like Trevor Lawrence is the number one pick. He's the star everyone expected him to be. Suffers a high ankle sprain, and then all of a sudden coming back from that, it's really been, I think, an up and down road for Trevor. And in a lot of ways, it kind of acts as a microcosm for what the Jags are going through right now at 1-5. But we both know it hasn't all been because of Trevor Lawrence that the Jags are 1-5. Tony, kind of walk my listeners, our Patriots listeners here, through how the Jags right now, from being very highly touted coming into this season, are a 1-5 football team.
The little things. And though at some point, those little things, when they keep happening, they may be little in their, they're not little in their significance. They're big in their significance, but there might be just be a whole bunch of little cuts. It's like, for instance, a paper cut isn't that bad, right? It's a little annoying. But if you get a whole bunch of them and then you happen to walk through a pool of alcohol, oh my God, they become significant. And every single game, every week, there's a pool of alcohol. So those little paper cuts, they're hurting this team, especially if they're all on your feet, right? And that's the way it is with Jacksonville. It's like, and then the little things change. It's a whole bunch of little things this week. And then next week, those little things get fixed. And then there's a whole bunch of other little things. And then you have a game where you fix both of them, like they did against the Colts. And then all of them have a picnic on you, like they did against the Bears the very next week. So it's like, why can't they just get right? And at some point, it's not about just getting right. It's about being right. And what that means is they're just not very good. It's not just mistakes. At some point, these mistakes become your identity and your character. They're a 1-5 football team for a reason. And when you watch them play, you usually leave thinking they're way more talented than what they just showed, because you actually see them during the game do things that really, really good football teams do well. And then they do things that really, really bad football teams do well at the same time. And week after week after week, you sit there and if you watch them once, you'll say they just had a bad day at the office. You watch them twice, you say, okay, there might be something going on here. You watch them every week like Jaguar fans, and guess what we say? Oh, this is bad. And that's what it is. They're a bad football team right now that can't seem to get out of their own way. And you talk about Trevor. Yeah, he leads the league in drops since he's been a quarterback in the league, but he also leads the league in turnovers. So the variance in the play that you're getting from him is all pro level one drive or for a quarter or so, and then should be somebody's backup the next drive. And that's the kind of stuff, man, I think needs to go away, but it's only going to go away with structure. They need to start building stuff around him, or somebody else is going to end up doing it, and they're going to put a system around him like Jared Goff. And I think in that situation, if he's not totally broken, he might start to thrive again.
Absolutely. And as I alluded to in the previous segment with the Patriots having some difficulty in the secondary and showing that last week against a very talented group of receivers that the Houston Texans have, it's a concern of mine again this week because the Jaguars do have a great deal of talent in that wide receiver room. Christian Kirk, 24 catches, 296 yards with a touchdown. Brian Thomas, I think, has been a bright spot for this team as well with 25, 424, and then, of course, 3 touchdowns there. Gabe Davis, a guy that the New England Patriots know very well. I know his name is on the injury report this week, but if he can go, you know he'd love to torch his old nemesis, being a Buffalo Bill for that many years. So if you're Trevor Lawrence and you're looking at Christian Gonzalez most likely being matched up with Brian Thomas, how to attack that Patriots secondary with guys like Jonathan Jones struggling a little bit, Marcus Jones kind of finding his rhythm in this defense. And then, of course, like I said, the difficulties that the Patriots have had when it comes to the secondary with the safeties and Kyle Duggar being banged up a little bit and Marte Mapu kind of coming into his own. Do you think this is where the Jaguars are going to try to attack this Patriots defense this week?
I do. And they're going to do it with a bunch of people. They 7 people touched the ball on the first scoring drive last week where they only got 3 points, but 7 people touched the ball. They're going to find out really, really quick what y'all can cover and what you can't. The key is Trevor Lawrence being protected. And he has a tendency early in the game to throw high. You can't give away those bunnies like that to a team that's struggling on the back end. If they play Brian Thomas Jr. one-on-one all game, he's going to have a game of his life. He is, in my opinion, he has been their best offensive player all season. And I think amongst the rookies, he was one of the top 5. He was one of the 5 rookies drafted in the first round, at least one of the first 5 wide receivers to go. He ain't number 3, 4, or 5 in terms of how he's played this year. And I'll just leave that right there. He's in the top 2. He's a really, really, really good player. The key for this game is going to be if the Jaguars can't take advantage of the Patriots, whose weaknesses line up with their strengths, then this team is really, really bad. So, yeah, I expect a big game from Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think New England Patriots fans need to remember that this is the former number 1 pick overall just a few years ago for a reason. Trevor Lawrence can make things happen, and that Patriots secondary and that front 7 has to be ready for anything that the Jags are going to throw at them. And Wig, the second question that I have for you before we take our leave and we talk about keys to victory is going to be the Jaguars defense. Now, New England is predicated on trying to use the run to be able to facilitate play action, put Drake Maye in a position to be able to take deep shots down the field and utilize his off-script ability to the best of his ability. Patriots running game last week was not able to get on track with Ramondre Stevenson out of the lineup. Stevenson did not practice on Wednesday, and it's a concern for New England because Antonio Gibson, as much as I think he tried to give his best effort, was simply not enough to be able to withstand that running game. The Jags right now rank 11th in the league. They're allowing 113.3 yards per game on the ground and 10th at 4.3 yards per carry. So the Jags are going to try to get after this Patriots running game early. They've got a stout front to be able to do it. Trayvon Walker, Devon Hamilton, Josh Hines-Allen, those guys can get the job done and help the protecting linebackers like Chad Muma and Devin Lloyd. Is this the key to the Jags defense in being able to keep Drake Maye off kilter? Simply because I think that's the way that the New England Patriots are built right now. If you cause problems for this running game, then yeah, you're going to be able to control their passing game as well.
I think for Jacksonville, the key is just to get off the field on third down, no matter how you have to do it. Just don't get nickel and dime to death. We're throwing the ball to the running backs, getting 4 yards, throwing the ball to a wide receiver on a quick screen. He gets 3 yards, and on 3rd and 3, you're getting 4 more yards with a little bump to the tight end. That's the kind of stuff that's been killing Jacksonville all year. And though they have those pretty decent statistics against the run, they haven't been able to stop the run when they needed to stop the run. And I think that bothers people more than what the overall stats are. But I'll just tell you this, for New England fans that may go on social media and always hear stuff like, well, I don't even know that Trayvon Walker was a first-round pick because of how good Aiden Hutchinson has been. Let me explain something to you. This would have carried on last week. Last week he got a sack, and it was negated by a holding penalty that had absolutely nothing to do with the play because the quarterback was running for his life one way, Trayvon sacked him, and the hold was over here, and it was real insignificant, right?
Right.
And so he would have had another sack. But without that game, in his last 10 games prior to last week, 5 last year and 5 this year, Trayvon Walker had 9 sacks. That's not a bust, folks. He had 10.5 last year, and he has 5 this year through 6 games. So I want to know where people always talk about, well, you don't even hear his name. Maybe it's because you're not watching, or maybe it's the games that you see, you don't see him do a whole lot. But he had games this year. He had a game this year we had 3 sacks and a forced fumble and caused another sack and almost had a 4th sack. So it's like, hopefully you guys will see that, and the national audience will start taking heed to how well he's playing. We're going to talk about keys to victory, though, man.
Absolutely. Can't wait to talk keys to victory. And I will say this about Walker before we take our leave of that subject. With those that I've spoken to close to the Patriots organization, coaching staff, that name comes up an awful lot. So believe me, the Patriots organization is very much aware of the damage he can do.
I'm glad you said that, because our listeners know this. That happens every week when you talk to, or we talk to the media for an opposing team. Some coach from the other team, the first name they mention when they talk about the Jags defense is Trayvon Walker. So within the coaching and scouting community, people feel differently than they do in the social media and the sports commentary community. Those are 2 different things. And no matter how much you tell people that, they're going to see when he comes up for a contract, they're going to see exactly how much people love him when somebody pays him that money. Hopefully it's Jacksonville. All right, we'll get the keys to victory for the crossover here in just a second on Locked On Jaguars and Locked On Patriots. I got to let you know that today's show is sponsored by our friends over at FanDuel. Man, let me tell you something. If your team is 1-5, or if your team isn't playing well, there's a way you can still enjoy those games on Sunday. How about putting some money in your pocket with America's largest sportsbook? That's right, FanDuel. And when you get there, you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. I didn't say when you win your first $5 bet. I said when you place your first $5 bet, you'll get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. And when you make your bet, you don't have to flip pages to find out what's going on in the game. You got play-by-play, and you got stats right there for every single game involved in your situation. So make sure you head on over to America's #1 sportsbook and start making you some money, even if your team is losing. And you can do that at FanDuel.com. All right, running it down here. Going to make some nice keys to victory for you guys, Mike, since you are a part of the visitors. Well, you are the part of the visitors. Go ahead and let me know what your keys to victory are for the New England Patriots.
Well, if the Patriots are going to be able to pull out this victory, and I think it's going to be a tough one for the Patriots, because like you said, Tony, right now the Jacksonville Jaguars' strengths do play well into the Patriots' weaknesses. So in order for the Patriots to be able to flip the script, so to speak, and be able to take it to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think they're going to have to exploit the one area that I think they may be able to find some success, and that's at the slot receiver position. Jaguars have been a little hesitant, I guess is the best way for me to put it, in being able to defend slot receivers, and the Patriots have a very good one in Demario Douglas. This was a budding relationship that we saw last week between Drake Maye and Demario Douglas, where Demario received 92 yards and was their top receiver. I think he's going to try to go to him as much as possible in order to find some success. Now, if Jacksonville is smart and they're savvy, they're going to try to shut Demario off. the Patriots still have someone like a Kendrick Bourne, who is a creature of the slot. He can definitely be someone that can win his battles on the perimeter, but he has been an effective slot weapon before as well. I look for him to be a potential safety blanket if the Jaguars do zero in on DeMario and try to take him away from Drake on Sunday. And then in the red zone, you have to try to find Hunter Henry, get him involved. He's a very big weapon in this passing game. That's where the Patriots are going to have to be able to make things happen. So if the Pats are going to find success in the passing game, that's going to be the key. They got to go to the slot, and I think that's something that they'll try to do. On defense, I look for the Patriots at this point to try to contain Jacksonville's running game, which has been very good with Travis Etienne. But at this point, if the Patriots are going to have success, they need to try to stop those big chunk runs that are putting this team on its heels and allowing them, or disallowing them, I should say, in better terminology, to play from any type of a position of strength. Teams that have been able to beat the Patriots soundly put them on their heels early, and they put them behind early. If the Patriots get down 2 touchdowns, this is not a team that's equipped to be able to come from behind. So that's a key to victory. They have to be able to contain Jacksonville's running game. And then last, and really, I think maybe most importantly, is the Patriots have to stop bad penalties. 2 weeks in a row now, Tony, this team has committed 12 penalties and then 9 penalties last week against the Houston Texans. You can't allow teams to give themselves opportunities to beat you when you're right now struggling for every yard, for every opportunity. That's something that needs to be done. And then, of course, an honorable mention in this case, Patriots need to be much better on third down than they've been. 3 of 13 last week against the Houston Texans, not going to get the job done. Those are my keys to victory for the New England Patriots this week.
That's a whole lot, but that's all right. That's what it takes sometimes when you don't win a whole bunch, and we know about that here. By the way, Demario Douglas is a Jacksonville native, Demario Douglas. So, yeah, we love us some Demario Douglas. All right, for the Jags, keys to victory. We talked about third down. Get off the field on third down on defense. Keep them on the field on third down when you're on offense. Those are the keys. Turnovers, penalties. We know those things plague bad teams. Specifically, I think the Jaguars have to have certain guys get on track. When they won a game this year, all of their go-to players, or the players that are expecting a lot, that is, Trevor Lawrence had maybe his best statistical year of his career against the Colts. Trayvon Walker, 3 sacks, like I said, caused a forced fumble, caused another sack when the quarterback was running from him and he ran into Josh Allen. And then he had 2 more sacks where the guy barely got away from him. And he drew some holding penalties. He had Laramie Tunsil early this year. He was begging for his life. Laramie had 3 or 4 penalties holding on to Trayvon, and that's a good sign when you have that. So that's something for you to lead with. Tank Bigsby had the best game of his career against the Colts. Brian Thomas Jr. had a coming out party where he caught a touchdown, and he run faster than anybody else all season at over 22 miles per hour. And they won by 3. They were up, and then all of a sudden the game was tied at 34 with like a minute to go. See, so that's the Jaguars. Everything has to go right. And the more that goes right, the better chance it gives you to win. I think they're going to win, debate. I do believe, even though they lost to a rookie last week, I think this is a little bit different. I think they're still breaking in Drake Maye. He's still getting used to the NFL game. Things are still fast for him. And because the offensive line, and this is the main key, because the offensive line is struggling and Ramondre Stevenson isn't healthy, I'm going to go with the Jaguars in a close 23-20 game.
Yeah, I think at this point, I'm in agreement with you, Wig. I think that the New England Patriots right now, because of either the loss or the marginally disrupted game that Ramondre Stevenson will give you, and right now, I mean, it's looking very unlikely that he'll be able to suit up for this game. That could change, but it's looking unlikely. That's a lot to put on a young quarterback's shoulders. I think Drake Maye will find a way to move the ball. I think the Patriots will have some success, but ultimately, like you said, Jacksonville's strengths play very well for them into the hands of New England's weaknesses, and I think it's going to be a little bit too much. I actually have the Jags winning this one 24-20 over the Patriots. So, yeah, I think we're like-minded and very similar final scores here.
Great minds think alike. We joked a lot with each other last night, too, when we recorded the AFC Squad show. Y'all make sure you get to your YouTube page and check that out. You want to talk about some foolishness? It's some good foolishness, though, amongst a whole bunch of guys just getting together, guys and girls getting together and just talking about the NFL. Make sure you check out the double dose of Locked On NFL, Tyler Rowland, the madman, gives you a double shot of espresso bright and early in the morning, 6 o'clock. He's going to hit you with it, and then come on by the barbershop in the middle of the day and hang with me. And we use the local experts to know your team like no one else on the new Locked On NFL. 2 shows every single day, wherever you listen to your podcast, and on the Locked On NFL YouTube page. Have to also remind you that today's show and all of our crossover shows across our network are sponsored and brought to you by Prize Picks. All right, Mike, debate, man. Everybody needs to make sure it's 9:30 Eastern time. Don't think you're going to sleep in or sneak off to Sunday school and come back and catch the game from the beginning, because you won't. It kicks off at 9:30 Eastern. We'll have all of the coverage post-game and all next week on Locked On Jaguars, Locked On Patriots, and Locked On NFL. Until then, you guys make sure you take care of each other, and we will do the same.